cry. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, the judges will score you higher if you cry. And I was like, what the what? But just here to say a quick story. And so that's the kind of person Joe was, is that he would find people, bring them together in the name of language, in the name of poetry, and make better versions of ourselves, to find our voices in a world that works so well in keeping us silent. And when I met Joe, his schedule was work 8 hours teaching, open up a classroom for his free time to teach us poetry, run distraction drills that coach taught him. Then we would get in his van or his car, drive all the way to LA and hit an open mic, drive all the way to San Diego and hit an open mic. And then he said, it's always about the food after. We would have hot wings and always a good cup of whiskey. And he would take the time to then say, well, we can do better. And he always had this thing with his hands. You got to roller coaster your emotions. And that's the kind of person Joe was. And when I first moved up to San Diego, Joe was the one that introduced me to this family and to the people that I worship here so much. And I don't think that would have happened if Joe didn't welcome me and open the door and say, come in. And I know a lot of people wanted to talk about how they remember Joe, but I want to talk about how I last saw Joe. And when I went to visit him, he was in bed, and Joe said, oh, I'm going to start teaching in the fall. And then Aunt raised his eyebrows, and Aunt goes, ask Joe how many classes is he teaching. And I said, Joe, how many classes are you teaching? He goes, 5. I'm like, what the fuck? How? And then he goes, oh, and I'm also taking a poetry class online. I go, are you insane? He goes, no, I just want to feel normal again. And how much he wanted language to be close to him. And that was Joe, always wanting to learn, but always wanted to teach. And he had a book by his bed, and it was called Composition by Junius Ward, J. Ward. And he told me, he goes, Carla, you need to YouTube him. He has this poem called Gentrification that I love, and you're going to love him. And we talked about having a book club together, and that we were going to read the book and be nerds together and talk about this first book, and we never got to have the book club. But I got the book, and I'm having the book club with him right now, so I would like to read a small excerpt of that in Joe's honor to let him know, Joe, I got the book, and we're book clubbing together. I've only died once, so I wouldn't say I was good at it or anything. But I did make a tune, didn't I? Could sing a song so blue and black, you would swear I colored the chords. I've been thinking about how thrifters pop tags and sell something inferior to the original for more than it's worth. And I know my work was not in vain. I know I live on. There will never be another me. How could there be? My soul was never mine. But you hear that? Music breaking through the clouds? That I am here, that I am here, that I have never left. And really quick, I found Joe through an amazing organization that we have continued to keep alive, and it was called Glassless Minds, and he was the co-founder of Glassless Minds with an amazing poet, Roland Tazula, who couldn't be here today, but he sent a few words, and if I could just take a minute to read that. This is from Roland. Joe was a lot of things to a lot of people. A professor, mentor, coach, friend, brother. But something I've noticed, and my favorite thing, that Joe has been to us is a journey companion. You see, I've noticed every person has at least one story that involves some sort of long car ride, plane ride, or common journey. While the destination was often poetry or food, the bonds that formed in transit solidified relationships. I find it so funny that Joe's mom told the story that on the way to the Capitol, he was editing his speech. He was running his lines. I met Joe in August of 2010 when we were randomly connected by a guy trying to sell an espresso machine to an open mic venue. True story. I had the drive to start an open mic, and Joe had the passion for poetry. I had never come across a person who carried an energy that was so infectious, so potent, so focused and inspiring that it made creating anything easy. Before I knew it, Joe and I began on countless journeys to LA, Long Beach, and Pomona, and of course, San Diego. I've come to realize this was a mobile classroom where we strategized and shared lessons. These journeys became so serious, and we would shuttle poets various venues throughout Southern California. We were the Scooby-Doo gang. Joe was my companion in breathing air into the open mic that became Glassless Minds, a journey that ushered in poetry pilgrims who would eventually come to cultivate their own communities. If you're ever in doubt, know that Joe is still your companion on this journey, and you'll always have a seat in his mobile classroom. Thank you.
Created everything